Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today we'll be recapping an action thriller movie titled To Catch a Killer. Enjoy the recap. Get ready, folks, because we're diving straight into a chilling New Year's Eve nightmare in the heart of Baltimore, Maryland. Picture this: an unknown sniper is taking ruthless shots at the unsuspecting crowd, dropping innocent revelers one after another. Caught in the middle of this chaos is Eleanor, a greenhorn cop, initially wrestling with petty disputes, until an urgent dispatch call redirects her straight into the belly of the beast. She's summoned to a local residence where a youngster has been struck down by the sniper, the deadly bullet piercing through the window. Now here's where things get interesting. The team on the scene discerns a consistent bullet trajectory in all the shots, leading them straight to a nearby apartment. But hold your breath, because this apartment goes up in flames, creating a fiery diversion. As the panic-stricken inhabitants bolt from the burning building, Eleanor's sharp instincts kick in. She ensures each person is captured on video, just in case the elusive sniper is among them. Battling through the choking smoke and chaos, our brave officers, backed by the SWAT team and firefighters, venture into the gutted apartment. Eleanor tags along, showcasing her keen eye for detail that earns her a nod from FBI agent Lamarck. But the smoke is too thick, too suffocating, and she passes out. Back at the precinct, Lamarck takes charge, briefing the team about the horrifying reality. The sniper is not just a killer, but a skilled marksman. The news spreads, and the media goes into a frenzy, stirring debates about the making of a killer. As of now, the death toll stands at a staggering 29. So, morning dawns on a city on edge. FBI agent Lamarck finds himself locked in a heated debate with Deputy Mayor Jesse, who seems too stubborn to take necessary precautions in a city held hostage by an active killer. You'd think it's common sense, right? Meanwhile, Eleanor is summoned to meet with Lamarck, but surprise, Special Agent Mac makes an entrance, and guess what? Our rookie cop, Eleanor, is now handpicked to join this elite FBI team in their quest to catch the lethal marksman. The Baltimore Police Department kickstarts the investigation in full gear. Surveillance tapes rolling, resident interviews underway. There's no room for error here. Lamarck makes it crystal clear that he's the boss. Every move needs his approval. So off go our trio, Mac, Eleanor, and Lamarck, to the morgue, trying to glean some clue from the lifeless victims. But there's a twist. There seems to be no connection, no pattern among the victims, nothing but being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Lamarck thinks the sniper isn't out for punishment but disruption, aiming to shatter the everyday routine of the city. Then comes a big update from the BPD. They've apparently caught the killer. Hang on, is this the end already? Seems too easy, doesn't it? The suspect is a teenager from the very building that went kaboom, a school skipper with a taste for violent video games. The suspicion grows stronger when he clams up, refusing to answer any questions. Our story takes a hard turn when the teen suspect feels cornered as SWAT crashes through his door, causing him to bolt in panic. Lamarck isn't convinced though, cautioning his colleagues against jumping to conclusions without solid evidence. Lamarck confronts FBI head Frank and Deputy Mayor Jesse about their brash approach. But Jesse has his own agenda. The city is vying for a gas refinery, and the arrested teen's Arab background, coupled with his threats, just bought them some breathing space. But Lamarck's not buying it, suggesting Jesse save his explanation for the teenager's distraught parents. Next on the to-do list, interview the trio, Lang, Haynes, and Dimitri, who had access to the apartment keys. Lamarck grills them about their alibis, digging into their pasts, reaching back 2 years. It's meticulous, it's intense, but they all have their stories straight. Meanwhile, Eleanor is combing through heaps of CCTV footage, aided by facial recognition software. A critical lab report lands on her desk. However, Eleanor doesn't prioritize it, leading to a stern reprimand from Lamarck. After a rough day, as Eleanor walks home, Lamarck pulls up in his limo, offering an olive branch for his earlier outburst. Eleanor ends up at his house for dinner where she meets Lamarck's brother, Gavin. Dinner conversation ranges from societal issues to personal histories. A heart-to-heart unfolds between Eleanor and Lamarck as they delve into why she never mentioned her previous FBI application rejection. She confesses to failing her psych exam and a history of illicit substance use. This story just got even more intense, folks. As we dig deeper, Lamarck pulls up Eleanor's file, revealing a layered past filled with personal struggles. But there's a silver lining. The rush of police work gives her a sense of purpose. Meanwhile, a bustling mall takes center stage. A figure concealed by a hoodie slips into a dressing room, stealthily swiping a man's clothes. His daring doesn't stop there. He takes a quick wash in the public restroom, drawing disgusted comments from passers-by. Security is alerted when this same man is seen scavenging half-eaten meals at the mall's eateries. The confrontation heats up when he defies the office's orders to open his bag. But before things can escalate further, the piercing sound of gunfire fills the air. At the same time, Eleanor is deep into an interview with a gun shop owner, probing about potential sources for the killer's vintage weapon. Her investigation is abruptly interrupted by a phone call bearing grim news. The killer has struck again, and the scale of his carnage is unparalleled. As Eleanor traverses through the shops, she is met with a horrific sight of countless victims. Lamarck joins her in the mall's security room, scanning the CCTV footage for clues. What they find chills them. A lean, tall, white male who hides his identity under his hood. His purpose at the mall wasn't to kill initially, but to find food, clean himself up, and find new clothes. But as the footage continues, the scene shifts. The man is seen exiting the mall, executing a cold-blooded massacre with frightening precision. He even plants grenades in the trash bins, maximizing the death toll. The immediate task at hand is to locate the clothes he discarded, but there's a hitch. The garbage truck already made its rounds, whisking away potential evidence. The trail of our relentless detectives now leads to a veritable mountain of garbage. Gross, yeah, but crucial for the hunt. Those discarded clothes might just hold the key to catching this predator, perhaps a strand of DNA or even fingerprints. As our dynamic duo, Mac and Eleanor, trudge through the trash, Lamarck gets pulled aside by Jesse, who seems more concerned about the city's image than catching the killer. Jesse and Frank tell Lamarck he has to play by their rules whether he likes it or not. Mac and Eleanor return victorious with a bag containing the killer's clothes. Let the science do the talking now. As they set to work, the grim images from the mall massacre flash across the TV screens, the media playing up the horror for the ratings game. The evidence starts speaking. Traces of paint and brittle hair typical of head injuries discovered on the clothes. Eleanor dives back into their list of suspects, her eyes falling on Lang, who's juggling 2 full-time paint jobs daily. Meanwhile, the news media is giving voice to the public, taking in live calls. One such call is chilling. A man praising the killing soldier and spewing racist comments. To make matters worse, he claims to be the killer and threatens the newscaster and his family. The FBI is quick on the draw, tracing the call. Despite the caller's profile not matching the quiet loner description of their suspect, they can't ignore this lead. He's traced, his name and car located. Turns out he's an NRA member and a part of the 3 Percenters group. Orders come down from Jesse to mobilize helicopters and SWAT to apprehend him. But Lamarck isn't fully convinced. Emerging from the caller's car are 4 skinheads, high on their prank on the liberal TV anchor. Eleanor and Mac proceed undercover to the caller's location, but their covert operation is blown by an unsuspecting old man. The situation spirals out of control as gunfire is exchanged between our officers and the Proud Boys. The aftermath leaves 1 officer down, 3 of the men neutralized, and the caller tasered. It's a whirlwind of chaos, especially when it turns out the caller's threats were all bluster. The next day, Lamarck is hauled before the disciplinary committee, accused of making reckless decisions. Despite his attempts to clarify, the focus remains on him being in charge of the investigation. His decision to allow live callers has inadvertently spiked crime in the city, and he's the one held responsible. The committee doesn't stop there. Eleanor is also put on the spot, her flaws highlighted, and her reputation tarnished. Despite Lamarck defending her, the verdict is damning. Lamarck is on the verge of losing his job. He issues a stark warning. If he's ousted, the killer remains free. Yet they don't heed his caution and fire not only Lamarck but also Mac and Eleanor. Reeling from their sudden dismissal, the trio drown their sorrows, already replaced in their roles. Gavin comes to collect Lamarck, leading to Mac and Eleanor reflecting on the injustice meted out to Lamarck after his decades of service. A heartbroken Eleanor heads home, only for a sudden realization to dawn on her. Driven by this newfound insight, Eleanor confronts Lang. She's put the pieces together. He was outsourcing his jobs, passing off the work as his own but giving the keys to someone else. Lang agrees to help and is brought to Lamarck, confessing he had been employing ex-cons who struggled to find work otherwise, paying them half wages and providing them lunch. In a massive break in the case, Lang reveals a crucial detail. One of his workers, Dean, had been a vegetarian, citing his previous employment at a slaughterhouse in southern Maryland as the reason for his dietary choice. Dean's physique matches that of the mall shooters, a significant lead. With only a first name to go by, Lang assists a sketch artist in creating an image of Dean. Armed with this sketch, Eleanor sets out on a new mission, visiting the 3 slaughterhouses downstate in hopes of identifying Dean. Her efforts pay off when an elderly worker recognizes Dean. It turns out Dean had left the job due to a cruel nickname, Kasimoto, given by his manager in reference to a head deformity. Dean's past also includes a stint in the army where his father, a shooting instructor, secured his release after a short service with letters from generals vouching for his good character. With the address of Dean's mother in hand, Eleanor and Lamarck decide to pay a visit, determined to handle it without FBI involvement. After all, they're off the official roster anyway. They're greeted by Mrs. Posse, who agrees to assist but only under one condition: they must try to apprehend Dean alive. She shares the heart-wrenching story of how a childhood accident, where Dean was shot at the age of 6, drastically changed him. But the drama doesn't stop there, folks. Amid the emotional recounting, Eleanor spots signs of recent occupation. It dawns on her that Dean is there, but before she can alert Lamarck, the unthinkable happens. Lamarck is shot. As they reel from this sudden turn, Mrs. Posse implores Eleanor to hand over their guns, assuring that she can convince Dean not to harm her further. With a mother's desperate plea, Mrs. Posse approaches the shed, calling for her son Dean to surrender. However, the situation spirals quickly when she suggests he should follow her example. She then proceeds to shoot herself, pushing him to reveal himself. Eleanor, using her empathetic skills, tries to connect with Dean to understand his deep-rooted resentment for society. She uncovers a side of him not reflected by his violent acts, a loner seeking solace in nature, intelligent but cold-hearted. They strike a deal that she is to shoot him when he falls asleep and burn him next to his mother. However, their negotiation is disrupted by the arrival of the police, probably alerted by the gunshots. Not taking any chances, Dean turns his gun on the officers, and as one calls for backup, Eleanor finds herself tied up. In this critical situation, Eleanor pleads with Dean, urging him to end the bloodshed. She fights back, successfully escaping just as Dean detonates planted grenades. Informing the police of Dean's direction, she watches as Dean walks towards the pasture, towards the forest he found solace in. The police arrive, and seeing Dean armed, they don't hesitate to open fire. The conflict is over. Dean is down. Later, Eleanor finds herself face to face with Frank and Jesse, who offer her a deal to keep silent, allowing them to claim the credit for the FBI and the mayor's office. However, Eleanor stands her ground. Rejecting their offer, she makes her own demands: a posthumous Medal of Honor and a full pension for Lamarck's brother, and a position for herself as an FBI investigator. With these terms agreed, Eleanor sees her victory twisted as the press is fed a heroic version of events that paints Frank and Jesse as the ones who apprehended the killer. But for Eleanor, the fight for truth and justice continues. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.